the time spent with competency and training with also their wellness. And then as we learned from today, interviews and synchronized dates for interviews.
It's going to be something nice or something.
Hi, Rosemary. How are you?
It's fine. How about you?
I see mini-me behind you.
Yeah, I share my office with my grandson's school. I haven't seen any beach pictures on Facebook lately.
I know. I had to go back to work.
Oh, I'm still working from home.
Yeah, I'll when it gets a little warmer, I'll do it again. It's dark. It's dark now, so I can't do it. I go to work.
Yeah.
I have other obligations.
Exactly.
So I have my little guy with me.
Where is he? Oh.
Maybe. So if he gets up on the screen, I'm sorry. I don't know what to say. My baby.
Well, just save it and then, okay, I'm on now. All right, I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Sorry.
I love your picture, Shannon.
Thank you. This is Multnomah Falls in Oregon, where I grew up.
No. Your picture, your actual picture of you.
Oh!
You look like you're a model.
Stop it. Wait,
Posing. You're posing.
let me see.
Yes.
No, I'm in a group of 3 people. Yeah,
It looks like you're posing.
Well, you know.
It's very artsy.
Oh yeah, looks good.
Yeah,
Hi,
I like
Jenny.
it.
How you doing?
I'm good, thanks. How are y'all?
Oh, hanging in there.
That's right.
Jenny, are we going to be able to get a picture on the screen of all of us with our shirts on?
I can take one.
Yeah, when we get everyone
With
like
my
at some
phone?
point.
Let me see.
Yeah, you should.
I can do that with my phone. Good. Are we here? Looks like it.
Gallery. So we have,
Let me
I
turn
think
the
like
volume up.
60 people registered to join, but
We have
Did you say
75.
6-0, like 6
No.
and a O?
75.
75.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Great.
Right now we only have 26. I don't know how.
Well, it's not 2:30.
Oh, we got 5 more minutes. Okay.
Yeah. So hopefully most of them will show up. I know they've been joining the meeting all during the day because I keep getting
Now,
notifications.
why are y'all not putting your screens on so I can see your face? Verna Roller.
She's probably taking a break.
Okay. That's right, because we know how this works.
Lamps carefully. If you don't, they could or lose their shape.
Okay.
I'm going to go get my.
Join the slabs. Mix some clay and water to form
Hey,
slabs.
Rosemary.
Should be about
Hi.
will act as a kind of glue to hold the slabs. Lightly brush the slip with crisscross stretches on
Hey. Want to say hi? Say hi. Say hi, buddy.
Hi.
And look at say hi.
Hi. What's your name?
My name is Sebastian. Sebastian.
Sebastian. Hi, Sebastian.
your joint. Use a damp
Hi, Elise.
Is it unprofessional to talk about how awesome Lynn's hair looks?
Who's
Hi,
hair?
Can you
Not at
donate
all.
some of that? Donate
Whose
some of
hair
that.
are we talking about? Lynn. I know Lynn. How do you get hair like that?
Can I get something? I'm just paranoid. Can I get something to cover up the camera, even though I don't have it on?
Oh.
Why don't you want anybody to see you?
Well, we can hear you.
Don't you want to start a video?
Beverly gets a pass. Thank you for being here, Bev.
Oh, thanks. I was listening to all the lectures this morning. It was really interesting.
Absolutely. So
How are you
glad you're
feeling
able
after
to
that
do
second
it.
shot?
Yeah.
Yeah, I almost fell asleep driving home yesterday and then slept and, it's kind of like almost having the flu,
Ew.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
but I'm happy to get it. So
Did you have any symptoms the first shot?
no, nothing. Nope, nothing at all. Just this one. So
Sure.
Can I go outside?
It's rain. Just rain.
Hi, Joy.
Hi. And he's like, I want to say hi to your friends.
Well, I've heard all about you every year that I've seen Joy at the meeting. She talks about you all the time. And then she spends like hours looking for something to bring back.
Oh, the cone of shame.
Yeah, he was neutered 2 days ago. He hates that. He hates the cold and he's been running into everything.
Oh my gracious.
Yeah.
But he's new, isn't he, Joy? You haven't had him a long time.
Yeah, he's 7 months old. So I've had him for about, well, the first 2 months they keep him. So yeah.
She's a prisoner.
I don't know.
Hey, Verna, how are you? How you doing?
I'm hanging in there, you know.
Yeah.
Going COVID crazy. And I can't bring myself to take my Christmas tree down yet.
That's perfectly all right. So
When
looks
I
like
get-
we're
I don't think I'm
about
muted.
here, and we're
When
going
I
to
get
go ahead and get started, okay? Welcome, everyone. And a huge thank you to Dr. Fuchs for joining us as well. I had something prepared, but I threw it out the window. So I'm just going to say thank you for being here. And also, I want everybody to know, I heard a little podcast recently that struck me and resonated with me. So I want everybody to think about something. What makes you completely awesome? Do you know? You decided, you made the conscious decision to wake up, put your feet on the floor, give yourself a pep talk, and go into work. And you have kept this going no matter what was thrown at you. And for that, I commend every single one of you. So thank you so much for being here for all of us. And everybody deserves a huge shout out. And thank you so much. I mean, this group has been, we've been through a lot, and I'm glad we've been here for each other, to prop each other up on the leaning side throughout this year. And I give over the position to a fantastic, wonderful coordinator, Shannon, and I know that she's going to just rock it. And I'm gonna go ahead and introduce Miss Shannon Piazza, and she's gonna go ahead and take everything from here. Thanks, y'all, and thank you so much for being here and on your Saturday with us. Take care. Be well.
Hey, thank you, Jenny. Okay, hello everybody. My name is Shannon Piazza. I am the academic program manager at the University of Southern California. And I am very much looking forward to working this year with Jenny and the rest of the steering committee, and really taking advantage of the Zoom platform that we've all been thrust upon to be able to maybe host more coordinator development type meetings and shorter duration things that really will help us to get our jobs done, which is why I'm so excited to have Steph talking today about all of the resources that ACURe has that are available for us to use. And I know that we all know about the email link and we use it liberally, but there's a lot of other stuff, and just knowing where to find it and how to access it, we want to make sure everybody is aware of all that. And also, Zoom technical updates. I mean, I know I personally learn something about Zoom from Stephanie every time I talk to her. And so it's great to get that all on recorded where we can, or at least I can go back and look at it again and again. And then Lynn and Laura with the Tag Me session. And I know a lot of us are struggling right now with job descriptions and with, you know, trying to get some purchase on reasonable salary and just, you know, autonomy and all of these things that we all need. And it turns out that Tag Me certification is one of the only metrics by which your institution can measure whether or not you have any training. And so I think in the future, I know my institution is looking at it, didn't really know about it. Now they are looking at it more. So that talk is going to be great. And that service that is provided is invaluable for anybody who doesn't have ACURe yet. And I mean, doesn't have a Tag Me certification yet. And then also very, very thankful to have Professor Gerhard Fuchs joining us. I've worked with him for 25 years, and I can say about many superlatives, but one thing I can say that matters to us is he holds the distinction of being the only program director in history to take a program from probation to full accreditation in one academic cycle. So that makes him an expert. And I think there's a lot of things we can learn from what he has to say. One last thing, I want to turn the mic over for a second to Elise, if she could introduce herself. Elise is on the steering committee for
bylaws and elections.
Thank you, bylaws and elections, and she has a note, update about upcoming elections.
Thank you, Shannon. So my name is Elise Custaju. I am the coordinator at the Cleveland Clinic.
Sorry.
So, and I've been working with Megan. She's on the line too. And we just wanted to say that they're going to be sending a note out soon to everyone because we should have had elections, but you know, COVID got the best of us too. So we have 3 open positions that if you guys could start thinking about who you would like to nominate or self-nominate for, again, we'll be sending out an email with all of the information. So we have president-elect, 1-year member at large, and another 1-year member at large. So remember last year we changed the member at larges so it wouldn't be like as long of a term. So now we have two 1 years available. So thank you, Shannon. We'll be sending out an email too. And thank you, Megan and Stephanie, and everyone for keeping me on track.
Awesome. Great. So we'll look forward to seeing that coming up. And you know, I want to thank Jenny, and you know, I'm looking at all these people's faces on here. I can't even mention everybody, but there are a lot of ladies on this call that have worked very hard to get this society, this association up and running. I know I personally benefited from the knowledge of people like Verna Roller, who stopped and really served as a personal mentor for me, like a kind voice at the end of the phone who would answer questions when I had no idea what I was doing. I made my mind up right then that I would, when I could be in a position of being that person that knew something and could answer a question, that I would stop and help anybody that would ever ask me, because it's a tremendous feeling of relief. And it's something, as we all know, there's no training program for this. There's no course. For so long it's been looked at as a secretarial job, and since next accreditation system, that's not what it is anymore. So I really, really encourage you, I implore you to please consider getting involved. This is not a full-time job for anybody. I've learned so much that has enhanced my job just by being on these committees with these ladies. So just from that alone, don't be afraid. Don't think you don't have time, and don't think you don't have anything to share. And please don't make it just be, you know, 10 people who are doing this for the rest of our lives. Okay, so with that, it looks like we're about ready to start. Why don't we move on to the first session? Stephanie, I believe that's you.
That is me. So I'm gonna,
if we can mute our mics just while she's doing her presentation, just in case there's any like back.
Okay, but then you muted and you were talking. Can you guys hear me?
That's the background dog barking, baby crying,
yeah.
whatever.
I'm
Sorry.
not that sensitive. So hopefully we're going to start seeing my screen and it's blank. That's because I needed that blank one so I can go to the next one and then my timer will start. And that way I won't talk too long. First of all, you can all see my screen, correct? And it's not my one with the notes, right? Yes. Okay. So I'm Stephanie Sinner, Program Coordinator at the University of Florida, Department of Urology. I'm here to share with you some of the resources and tips and that are available to you, and also some lessons that I learned in the 2020 virtual interviews. I don't have anything to disclose, unfortunately. It would be nice if I did. So what can ACURe do for you and your program? The most important things ACURe can do for you are, we have a lot of resources to share. We have a lot of shared knowledge. There's well over 400 years of experience in our group. We have shared experiences, and we have a lot of, well, we're trying to get a lot of shared files. We have some shared files right now. Hopefully we can get more. But basically we all do the same thing. So we're all in the same boat. And that is probably the biggest tool in your toolbox. The Google group is the toolbox, I say, and everything else is inside it. But that is the main thing. That Google group is a place you can go anytime you have a question. Almost always someone can answer it. There's someone who's been in the same situation you've been in. So I'm going to tell you today about how to find the group and join it if you haven't already, how to manage your email settings, how to search the messages, how to access the shared calendar, find shared files and what's in there, and how you can contribute to it, and how to leave the group if you ever dare to do that. So this is what the web page looks like for the Google group. And I'm going to refer frequently in this presentation to the welcome message. And there's a little highlight at the top. That's what I call the welcome message. And I circled the little scroll bar on the side. There's a lot of hyperlinks there to get you to the Google Drive and to the some of the other shared information. So you can go there. There's a link here directly to it. And as long as you're in a Gmail account, you should, if you aren't already a member, you should be able to just request to join. I'll be getting to that on the next slide. I'm getting ahead of myself. This is the actual help page from Google to tell you how to find and join a group. These hyperlinks, I'm going to be sending out this PowerPoint after the meeting, and they should work for you. So you should be able to click on anything in this PowerPoint and you'll be able to go where it wants to take you. You can join the Google group without a Google address. You can join it with your institutional address. But if you do that, you will not be able to access the web page and the shared files and all of those things, because Google is great, it's free, but it wants you to use Google. So you've got to give in to that. However, you can join the group with 2 addresses and just have emails sent to one of them. And I'm going to tell you next how to manage your email files. So I know it seems like I'm kind of going through this fast, but there's a lot of stuff, and you can all read this detail later after the meeting. So if you think you're getting too many messages from the group, there's a number of ways you can deal with it. Of course, the first thing would probably be just if it's a temporary thing because you're swamped at work, you're hammered, and you just don't have time, just delete them. Just delete them. You can always go to the website. You can read anything that you've deleted there. But if you feel like you're regularly getting too many messages, you can go to the page, and from your managed subscriptions, you can have a digest, an abridged email that you get every day, or you can set it to no email, and you can just go directly to the website and read messages there. But the main thing I want to stress is that this is a discussion group. So we don't want to inhibit anybody from asking a question or answering a question or having a discussion about something. So if you feel like you're getting too many messages, please use some of these tools to deal with that. If you thought you saw a conversation about something, you know, saw an email, you really weren't paying attention, but then a week or two later you go, man, I think I saw something. You can search the conversations on the web page. You go up to the top of the page and you would just put in a search term. If you click the little arrow, it opens up a bigger window. If you know somebody sent an attachment, click the has attachment, and you can do a search that way, and you'll be able to find a lot of the things that you want to find. And then if you can't, please ask the question. But this is a good way to try to get some information pretty quickly. Because we've been doing that, having this page now for, I guess, about 3 years. So there is a lot of information there. To access our shared files, there is a link. The link on this screen will take you there, but also there's a link in that welcome message to take you there. And these are the files we have set up. And we had a person who was actually managing this for us, and she set this up for us, but she had to step away from doing some of these extra things. So we actually could really benefit if you love organization and you love setting up files, you could be the file master for ACURe. And if you're interested in that, please contact one of the steering committee people, because I know they would be happy to help you become the file master. If you want to upload something to share with the group, you can click on this upload here, because you won't be able to upload to the other files. You just drag your file into there. And since we don't have a file master right now, just put a comment on the, a post, or send a message to the group and say, hey, I just shared a file. So that way some one of us can go in there and put it where it should be so other people can find it. But the goal would be to create a really good resource of shared files. And there's quite a few of them in there, but we could always use more. We also have a shared calendar that we mostly use for sharing our interview dates. This is from last year, from November. The link again will take you to the calendar and you can view it, but it is a private calendar. It's not public. So you do have to get added directly to be able to add your dates to it. But just email me, or you can email anybody, but usually I'm the one that does it. And I'll be glad to add you to the calendar so that you can put your own dates on there. So one day you're going to decide, maybe you win the lottery and you decide to move to a remote island in the Pacific, and you decide you're not going to be a coordinator anymore. Or maybe you just get a job that's a lot easier. I don't know, or pays more. I don't know. But if you do, please tell us, number one, that you're leaving, because we'd love to say goodbye to you and be jealous, probably. But this is how you leave the group. So you can do that on your own. You don't have to email anybody to tell them you're doing it. So there is also a link in the welcome message on the Google group page about the Dropbox. That basically it's my Dropbox. And in that Dropbox, we have several years of AUA updates and SASPs. And with that link, you can reach those files. And if anybody has any other files that are large, because that's why I put them there, because there's a lot of, they're big files. And we'd be glad to add them. So if anybody has the 2021 SASP, I'm just saying, we could use it. Then there's the link we love to hate, the urology match spreadsheet. If you have heard of it, then you know what I'm talking about. And if you haven't, and you go there, you'll find out what I'm talking about. This is the spreadsheet that is kept by the medical students for the match. And they talk about, applications and all kinds of things like that. They also talk about programs. They talk about everything. Apparently this year they were talking about pornography a lot because somebody shut the web page down. They wouldn't let them post anymore because they were getting too graphic or something. So all I can tell you is put your Teflon suit on before you click the link. Remember, it's not personal. Most of them don't know you, haven't met you, and it's anonymous. So they're going to say anything they want to say. I go and check it out personally because I appreciate having a window into their opinion. It's just one person's opinion many times, or maybe two or three, but it's not the majority of people. But there's a lot of information to be gained there. I don't ever post to it. I just read, quietly lurk in the background to see what they're saying about my program. This year, for example, someone said they wanted to kill themselves during our Friday night before our Saturday interview day. And I told Dr. Moy about it, and he doesn't plan to make any real changes to it. I guess he figures one less medical student's not that big of a deal. So this is the reality, right? We talk about it, we see what somebody said, we decide, is it valid, is it not valid, is there anything worthy that we can get from it? If we can, we will. If we don't, then we move on and we forget about it. But that's how you get to it. That is not in the welcome message, but I guess I could put it there. All right. The next resource I suggest, if you're not a member, is a Facebook group. It's called the GME Program Administrators Educators Group. This is a link at the bottom of how you can join it. This is from their page telling you. So it's a group for only program managers and coordinators. They do not allow program directors or other people to join. They want it to be a safe space for coordinators and managers to talk about things and not have to worry about, getting in trouble with their program or whatever. I get a lot of good information there. I try to check it out, every week or so. I don't check it every day, but I do get a lot of information there. A lot of people share things. Somebody shared a PowerPoint this year about what they go over with their residents before the annual survey comes out. And it was very helpful, and we're probably going to share it with our residents and ask them to read it because we've never really coached them before the survey comes out. But I told Dr. Moy, I feel like this year everybody's kind of down anyway. And if we're going to have a bad year, I think this one's going to be it as far as our survey goes. So the lessons that I learned from Zoom 2020 virtual interviews. Number one is that we can do it, and we did do it. And if you were in the meeting earlier where they were talking about interviews, they made the comment that all programs matched. So none of us have to worry about scrambling on Monday. That was a really nice thing to hear on Saturday. And in fact, a new coordinator called me. I don't know if she's here. There's a new program, UT Medical Branch has a new program. And she called me to ask me if they would tell her ahead of time if they didn't match. And I said, no, you'll find out the same time the rest of us find out. But when I heard that, I emailed her and I said, I don't know if you heard it, but you matched, so you can sleep this weekend and go in and not worry about it. So to me, that's the most important thing we learned. We can do it. We matched, and everything's good. There's a link here. It's to a recording I made. It wasn't a workshop because I kept forgetting to record the workshops. So, and it was made last September. So some of the things have changed a bit. Like, for example, now a co-host can manage breakout rooms, but it may be helpful to watch. I will just, say, it was kind of made before anybody really knew anything. So a lot of us have probably got more than you need to, you probably already know everything in it, but I just included it just in case. Yeah. So the main things I learned from my interviews are practice, practice, practice. Practice with your friends, practice with your neighbors, practice with everybody. It's just like cooking. When you started cooking, you didn't cook very well, probably. But if you keep cooking, you get better and better, hopefully. Dry runs matter. If you're going to have virtual interviews again, we don't know what's going to happen, but if we are, I would still say have little dry runs, not a full day, just a little meeting with your faculty to tell them how things are going to go for them, just so it's not a surprise. It made my faculty feel so much better to do that. Always create an extra breakout room if you're using breakout rooms. You can never have too many breakout rooms, but you can have too few. So that is the thing about breakout rooms. And there's a lot of discussion about whether you should close the rooms after you have the breakout rooms or not close the rooms. For us, it worked really well to leave the rooms open all day, move all the candidates into the candidate lounge with our PD at the end of the day, and they left from there, and the next group was coming in to the main room as they were leaving. So that, I felt like it was very smooth. It went really well. And so that's my take on it, but everybody is going to have a different, you have different faculty, everybody's different. So, and then the last thing is that you do have to have a timer, and we probably all figured that out. But if you didn't, this one is the one I used, and it was a great timer. I could change it on the fly. It was very, very helpful. So look at me, 18 minutes and 26 seconds. Thank you very much for your attention. Best to everyone on match day. I'm just happy to know we all matched. Nobody's got to scramble next week.
Thank you. That's great to know.
If anybody has any questions, feel free. You got about a minute and a half ish.
We have a little bit of time also for questions after Lynn and Laura's section, about 15 minutes, I think.
Mine's just really quick. When did they say that everyone matched? I missed it.
It was during when they were talking about virtual interviews, and they made, I say they, it was Dr. Did you hear it, Shannon? There were two or three.
Yeah,
I heard it.
It was on a slide.
I heard it. Yeah.
It was Dr. Gerard.
I heard it.
Yep. But they definitely said it. And I was just like, oh my gosh, that's great. I mean, I really, we ranked a lot of people. If we didn't match our spots, we are a big. So, but.
How many did you rank?
Almost 60.
Wow.
What? You interviewed 60 people?
We had a total of 62 people.
Do you normally do that many?
Close to that. We usually do about 55 or so.
For how many spots, Stephanie?
3.
Wow.
We do at least 50 for just 2 spots. So
Yeah, we do 50. We actually, this year was our first year doing 50. We were accustomed to doing 40 for the 3 spots. But this year we did 50 for 4 spots, which was the first time we did it. And we also interviewed 3 days. So we went from 2 days to 3 days, which was grueling by the 3rd day because we were interviewing on the weekends, virtual or not. But our program decided to have everyone come into the office who was interviewing. Which, you had about 75% of the people on the fence in regard to that, saying, listen, by the first day, when we got over the hump of some of the technical issues that people might have had with Zoom, why not just do this at home? Because we were there equally the same amount of time we would have been, even if the applicants were there or not.
The connection at your institution is more stable, though. It's less.
It's all at home.
Yeah, but at home, yeah.
Wait, my question is though, I mean, of course, my program director happens to be on the call. Are we the only ones in the whole country that only interview 30 people?
Well, you're USC. You don't have to interview so many.
How many spots do you have per year, Shannon?
3.
Yeah, we interviewed 38 for 3 spots.
We did
for average
for 1.
You guys aren't in Gainesville, Florida.
Okay? Or Louisville, Kentucky. We had fewer dropouts.
That's like number 10 is the lowest I've ever gone, but it's usually pretty high. But I've never lived in another state, so I didn't. Oh my good grief! Don't get any ideas.
Last year, I think we interviewed 27, but we went up to 40 this year, and I think the rank was about the same, 40.
We always count on at least 10 to 20 dropping out, and we didn't have that issue this year because they didn't have to travel.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And we had that one guy that canceled, the one that I talked to a couple of you about because he did the same thing to you.
Probably the same one that canceled on me.
Probably. And he was like that second day, when the wait list started going out. And but that was the only person that canceled on us. So that was good.
Well, that was why the SUO set it up. SAU, sorry, set it up like this because of where we had to give the invites. My only complaint about this whole system was that, and they're talking about not wanting to limit the number of invitations and so forth. I had students that had like 15, 20 interviews. And I know for a fact, some of them at the end, especially towards the end, the only reason they showed up was because they thought they would get in trouble if they canceled. And I had other students not get very many interviews because these people are sitting on interviews they don't really want. So we got to figure out a way to fix that because other than that, this whole system for me worked great. I mean, I had no problem with the way we did it.
Did you hear the scramble idea?
No, what scramble? Was that today?
Yeah.
No, see.
So one of the ideas that they threw out there at the meeting this morning was to give them basically say they tell you on Monday, yes or no to your invitation. And then Tuesday, wait list offers go out. And then Wednesday would be a scramble day where they could cancel if they wanted to, and waitlist people could get picked up.
That's good.
Yeah. So I thought that was a good idea.
That's good. I'm happy with that. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're talking about that.
I really like the idea of how it the interviews and everything went out, the invitations went out. And I was hoping that we would do this again. I thought it was very nice that every program sent their invitations out on one time, because we didn't have anybody, and I'm at UT Southwestern in Dallas, we didn't have anybody who declined us. I had a couple people that had asked to move to different days.
Yeah.
But everybody we sent invitations out, they accepted. And so I never, ever went to my wait list. And then I didn't have anyone who canceled. So the process on my end was so smooth.
I know this was
And
better. We need to
yeah, I
keep doing
really
it
liked
this way.
it. Yes, and it was nice because you already had your schedule together. You already had, you know, like your information. So you just move along and prepare for your interview day. So I really like this process, and I hope we keep it this way.
Yeah,
I vote too.
Did anybody do like virtual sub-Is or like meet and greets prior to in the summer? Yeah.
We did.
We
Yeah.
did meet and greets. We did 2. We did not do virtual sub-Is. I hope we never have to do virtual.
I will admit it was, I think if I said virtual Zoom one more time in my house, my family was gonna kill me. And because it was just so much. If I talked about it, they were like, stop talking.
Look, the thing we can do is try to talk our program directors into understanding that we can't recreate in-person activities over Zoom. So trying to have like a virtual sub-internship, we're not going to learn anything about them. Okay, they might learn about our program, but are we all pandering to an audience and are we not getting enough applicants normally? I don't think we need to advertise. And trying to have a virtual cocktail party or whatever, you have to reimagine. You have to rethink and get more creative about how you're going to show this interaction and camaraderie and things without trying to strictly stick to the way it was done, because it just doesn't translate on Zoom.
Well, my meet and greets are organized by our PGY2 class, and they did an Amagami class, which it was a lady from Japan that they went online, and I didn't have to really do anything but send the link out to the applicants. They did all the legwork for that for me. Which is a plus.
That's great. Yeah.
Well, and that's great. I mean, you know, in some played games and things, but when you looked at the match spreadsheet where they were complaining about stuff, where they bitterly complain about stuff, you could see that some of them were just sitting there listening to the residents talk to each other and they were bored, or they said it would be an hour and it was 2 hours and they were bored. And, you know, so that's one way you can look at that feedback and figure out how you might make a few adjustments or whatnot. Anyway, thank you for that, Stephanie. We're going to move on so we stay on schedule to the coordinator professional development talk with Lynn and with Laura.
Unmute yourself, Lynn.
I am. I just did. Sorry. So Stephanie, you're going to be a hard act to follow. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. Anytime.
Your talk. Okay. Mine's not going to be. Oh, hold on. Hold on. I'm doing the wrong thing. Sorry. All right. I got to share my screen. So hold on. Let me get it right here.
Here's my ACURE cup, by the way. Sorry.
I got mine too. All right, so get my PowerPoint going. Hold on here. Sorry a minute. Oh, sorry. Oh, let me go back. Sorry. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so I'm Lynn Vass, and together with Laura Allen, we're going to present our professional development activity, which is our study group. All right. So this is on the TAGNY website, but basically why TAGNY certify? Why do you want to certify? It demonstrates commitment to your profession, builds self-esteem, reflects achievement, enhances your professional image, establishes professional credentials, improves your career opportunities. And this is a good one, may provide increased earning potential. I'll go back to that in a minute. Improves skill and knowledge, prepares you for greater on-the-job responsibilities, and offers greater professional recognition from your peers. So getting back to this one about providing, it may provide an increase for pay. I was certified 7 years ago. I was the only one in my institution that was certified. And I recertified 2 years ago. I've not gotten an increase for this at all. So basically, I pursued certification because just for my own self-achievement. So, on. Okay, and this 2 years ago, our institution, they redefined our job descriptions. So you can see by the highlights here that certification became a requirement if you're going to be a residency program specialist 1, 2, or 3. So I guess I was ahead of the curve because I was already certified. And I just did it because I wanted, you know, I wanted to do it personally, but now they're making it a requirement. So I'm glad I did it. Okay, so what you need to know. So now it's online. It's a live proctored format on your own computer at a time and date that you choose. When I took it the first time, it was pen to paper. I had to travel 2 hours. And then when I recertified 2 years ago, I had to go to a testing center. So I'm glad that the TAGME has streamlined these things for us. And now you can do it on your own computer. So the questions are multiple choice. I don't understand the short answer questions because I don't think it's either with multiple choice, yes, no, or true, false, from what I remember. You didn't have to fill anything in. It was all there. You just had to choose. So the initial certification's 5 hours. There's about 175 questions and its cost is $350. The maintenance, which is when you recertify, it's 4 hours with 100 questions and it's $350. And then if you have to retake it, they shortened it a little for you. So it's 4.5 hours, 125 questions, and the fee is $150. Okay, so to be eligible, you must currently be employed as a GME professional of an ACGME program. You must have completed 2 consecutive years in your role by the time you apply. This is something new. You have to obtain 20 education credits within the previous 3 years that you apply. And it's whatever your activity is, the hour equals what the education credit is. So before it was 15. So the example for an education credit would be like attending for meetings like national, regional, state conferences, your institution meetings or retreats. So for instance, the SAU and the ACURe meeting, if you were to attend 2 of those, you would get, more than likely you're going to get your 20 education credits. So preparing for the exam, if you go on to the TAGME website, they have a list of documents that they, want that you have to have. You have to study them in detail and be comfortable with knowing where to find things if you have a question and you don't know how to answer it. You can have the printed copies during the test. What I did was I printed them and put them in a binder and had them available when I took the test. They also have a PD version that is actually online on the screen when you take the exam, but you're not allowed to access the internet or email during the test. Okay, this is something new because I know some people at my institution just took it. The results, you will know it immediately, but now the new thing is you'll know the total score of what you made, like even on the individual categories. When I took it, it just said pass or fail. So I remember when I took the research, I literally, when I clicked that button, because it tells you what you're, if you passed or not, I turned away for about 5 seconds, maybe a minute before I looked back on the screen and I opened my eyes. I was like, good, I passed, thank God. So, Okay, so you need to become comfortable with accessing the resource information quickly and accurately. So we know that the initial certification is 5 hours and there's like 175 questions. So that means that you have less than 2 minutes to answer the questions. Okay, you need 20 education credits. So leadership and professional development courses that improve your performance in a qualifying role are eligible as their education credits. So our TAGNY study group falls under that category. You need to be able to demonstrate high-level familiarity with an advanced understanding of knowledge required to successfully manage accredited graduation medical education programs. So whether you want to work towards a certification or not, participating in our study group is a great way to keep current on requirements and learn from one another. Okay, all right, so there are no published study guides or handbooks that the TAGNY endorses or recommends for certification preparation. So our study group material is a great resource. So we currently have 6 members of our study group, and we have been meeting since August. As you can see, here are the dates and the things that we have already gone over and discussed. Our meeting format, we have a reading assignment that we have prior to our session. We have handouts, we do a PowerPoint presentation, and we have questions and answers. And the discussions definitely are encouraged. And I like to say that we have had a lot of discussions on our sessions. They're really if we have a challenging question or whatever, we'll go back and look at the requirements and kind of learn from each other. So I personally have learned and grown a lot just from the group. And our last session was really good. I think Shannon challenged everything that we talked about. Every question. I had to go back through the requirements and go, yes, yes, yes. So our proposed future topics, we're just, I'm not going to go through them, but these are things that we're looking at reviewing on our future topics. I mean, our session, excuse me. And then we meet the second Thursday of each month for an hour, 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And these are our dates. And know this is not us in the group here. I wish it was. So if you wish to contact myself or Laura, here's our contact information. We'd love to have you join our group. And that's all I have.
Hi, everybody. Sorry, I'm really distracted. My baby kitten is outside my door crying at me right now. So hi, I'm Laura.
Song and dance?
Let the kitten in.
I'm Laura Allen. Thanks, Shannon, for having us today. Thanks, Lynn, for presenting those slides. That was great. I don't have any slides today. I just wanted to share with you my personal struggle with the program requirements in general, and just share a little bit about how our group was formed. So at a minimum, I think that every coordinator should know that there are program requirements out there. We should know where to locate them and be familiar enough with them that we can quickly locate the information when things come up. My program director expects me to know the program requirements. So for me, that's just a little bit overwhelming and the pressure is on. And yeah, so the program requirements, I cannot tell you how many times I've sat down to read these, and I've tried reading them in one sitting. I've broken them up into chunks and have read them over several months. I have bought the HC Pro flashcards, if anybody remembers those. I really didn't feel like I was making any progress or retaining the information. So at one of the past SAU meetings, it was coming up and I decided that I was going to ask as many people my question. And my question was, how do you know all of this stuff? How do you study it? Because I am doing something wrong. And I got some feedback. I went with my question, I did ask, and I cannot tell you how many people told me, Laura, nobody knows all of this stuff. You learn as you go. You learn as things happen within your program. And I was actually so very relieved to hear that. However, my program director still wants me to know the requirements. So fast forward to SAU 2020 in Las Vegas. At our ACURE breakout, we played a game of Jeopardy, and it was actually my favorite part of the meeting. It was fun. It was really interactive. I was really surprised and proud of myself because of how many of the answers I actually knew. I was telling Lynn after the meeting about it, and she shared with me that she hosts study groups at her institution for the TAGME, and they play Jeopardy at one of their sessions. And I think, Lynn, I think you kind of offered to start the study group with me, and we just kind of gauged our coordinator group for interest, and that is pretty much how our group was formed. Lynn said there are 6 of us currently. Shannon just joined us last month. Our next group meets in February 11th, if anybody wants to join. So that is my little story. And I thought it would be fun to kind of do a poll. If anybody has a phone, a cell phone out, I'm going to share my screen if I can figure this out. Can everybody see that poll everywhere screen?
Mm-hmm.
If you have, you can go to pollev.com/Laura Allen 700 and answer by way of computer. You can get out your cell phone and text Laura Allen 700 to 37607, and the choices are A, B, C, or D. Just to kind of gauge our group and see who's certified, who's not certified, and where the interest kind of lies. And I will participate also. It's looking good. So maybe we'll have some folks join us at our next meeting in February. So that was just something fun to do. Thanks for having me today.
That took me way too long to figure out. Okay.
Me too, and I set it up.
Okay, we have, what time is it? 12:22. So we have time for some more questions or a short break. I know that I will need to empty my bladder right now, so I'm going to turn my monitor off. But otherwise, questions for the first half of the group. I'd really like to encourage everybody that makes sense to, I mean, if you're going to be, leaving your career in the next year, you don't need to worry about it. But I make, Stephanie, I really encourage you to look strongly into TAGME certification. The study group is it. We have no other resources. I tried to do this on my own. It's not as easy as it used to be. And, why are there only 6 of us? There's 65 of us on this call right now. So yeah, let's beef it up a little bit. So I'm going to turn my mic off. If you all want to keep talking, I'll be right back. And we'll get ready to start with Dr. Fuchs at 12:35.
And just so there's no misunderstanding, I am going to retire, but not in the next year, but soon enough that it's not worth the tag me. So I don't want any rumors to get back to Dr. Moy that I'm leaving, because I'm not leaving. I'm just old enough to leave.
I'm on the same boat as you, Stephanie. I'm like, I'm certified, but it's expiring. And I'm like, they're at this point in time, been there, done that. But I highly encourage it for people. And I know our institution, I work at Mayo Clinic, they did not increase our salaries or anything like that. But it is a personal development thing. And I can tell you that the staff appreciated that I went through it, and I think that developed a form of respect that sometimes we don't get, because we are viewed as secretaries on it. And when we say, "Oh, we're certified," they're like, I remember my PD saying, "What?" But I highly encourage it.
And I also look at it not even so much as something that I'm doing to try to get my salary increased as it is something I'm trying to do to not have my salary decrease or to, like I have in my program a fellowship coordinator, associate program coordinator, and a residency secretary. Both of them have higher degrees than I do. So it doesn't take a rocket scientist at a certain point. Like I need a couple letters behind my name just, to nobody questions what I know or don't know. And then as Lynn said, you learn a lot. It makes it easier to do your job, and things change all the time. So that's my main reason. Although I see some people are probably maybe even at salary structures that are not fair to begin with, because when you're being paid fairly, you don't mind doing extra trainings and things like that to make you better at your job. So yeah, but all of this may help us collectively to do better for one another and help some of the smaller programs get their programs to, really realize how much work it is for the coordinator.
I see a couple questions. Somebody wanted to know, how long is the certification valid? It's 5 years, and then you recert, so you have to apply again. Somebody else asked, why do they want you to do it after 2 years? It's just you have to complete maybe I wasn't clear, sorry. It was on the screen. You have to complete 2 consecutive years in your role to qualify to apply. So sorry if that was confusing. Somebody wants us to give an example of a question on the TAGME exam.
Good.
I have a lot of questions that I have from my presentations. You're not allowed to just write down the questions. During, they don't want you to do that. But I'll come up with a question and I'll pose it to the group. I'll have to go into one of my presentations because I have a lot of questions.
Hey, Lynn, I have a question. When you take the exam, are you notified of what you got right and what you got wrong? Do you get a list
they're
of
just
questions?
yes, that's new. It's new.
Okay.
They do give you a score now, and they actually tell you how you scored on each of the areas, they've got it broken down like requirements, self-study. So your scores, which is good, because if you don't pass, at least you know what you need to study to retake it. Whereas before you just pass or fail, and then you had to retake it and you didn't know what you got right or wrong.
But there's no breakdown on you got question 16 wrong, question 32 wrong, like that, or don't you know?
I don't think so. I don't think so. Like I said, this is something new. I just found out about this actually last week, that they started giving scores. So,
Lynn?
Yes.
This is Stacy Blanks from UT Chattanooga. I took the exam December the 19th, and thankfully I passed. So, but I did notice in one thing is when they gave you a question, underneath the question, they would actually tell you what knowledge base it was. So that automatically gave you a clue. Well, I need to go look at the institutional requirements.
Wow. Well, that definitely has changed.
Yes. And so the way I had my materials set up, I had it set up in a binder by the resource, and it really did help, you know. So you immediately, I think I started answering questions within a minute, not 2 minutes, because I was able to immediately go to that area. I was very, very pleased with how they had it set up. I encourage anyone, when you take it, just make sure you have your binder set up where you can get to everything really quickly. So put it in a way that you know where it's at. So
right. And I think like having your binder set up and you're part of the study group, you're going to become familiar with the material enough that you're going to be able to find it. So I liked my binder better than I never used the PDF version that they had on the screen for us, because I wasn't going to be searching for stuff. I had my binder and knew where everything was.
And also the PDFs that they give you do not have the Control F feature. So you could not pull up the document and do a word search. So to me, you're scrolling back and forth, so you might as well just use something that you printed.
The other thing about the documents, that if you really look at them, they have an index. So each thing, like the requirements, have an index. So if you have a question, you know basically what the category is, and you can look to see where it is, what page you need to refer to maybe look to make sure that you got you're getting the right answer. So if you look at the index that they have for all the documents, you can quickly go to the page. So it's just being familiar with the documents, and being part of the study group, you're going to be looking over stuff and reading stuff. So you're going to know the documents pretty well.
I have a question for Stacy. Stacy, did you study for this? How did you study?
I just studied by myself. I just took each individual resource, and I took each resource and I gave myself a week on each one. And I just read and I just read and I read. And then I highlighted certain areas, made myself notes, and that's all I did. I just did it for each thing. There were a couple of areas that I was not as familiar with, the ECFMG, because I've never had to deal with any of that, nor the NRMP section. Mm-hmm. So there were a few sections that I studied a little bit harder, and then I asked other coordinators that I knew who had experience with it to give me some pointers. But basically, I just read and highlighted, and I just made sure, I perfected my binder. I did it several times actually until I knew where I could just flip through it easily. So that's all I did. I just did it by myself because I didn't know of anyone else, and I didn't know y'all had a study group either. So I just highlighted a lot, and I didn't put pressure on myself to memorize anything.
It's unfortunate. The ECFMG and the residency matching, those documents are about like this thick. It's not easy. So you're reading all of that. It's really, but the questions, there's very few questions on that versus other areas. So it is a little forgiving.
Overall, I just kind of, on those sections, I just tried to understand the overall portion of it. Because I thought if they're going to really dive into something, if I at least know what area to go to, I'm going to have time to look it up. So I kind of gambled on that a little bit, but actually those were the two areas that my percentage was lower than the other areas, which I anticipated that. So
we could use you in our study group.
I was just going to say.
I wouldn't mind being a part of it just because it's, it's something you need to just keep going over and over. That's right. I've been a coordinator for 20 years, so a lot of these concepts were already ingrained. But of course, I've only been in urology for 6 years. So, but anyway, it was a good experience for me. I was very, very happy to pass, and I'm fortunate. My university gave me a raise, and I did not know that they were going to. I was taking it just for the personal satisfaction. Nice. And then they ended up giving me a 5% raise and paying the fee. So I can't complain.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was great. Thank you. Thank you, Lynn. Thank you, Laura. I look forward to seeing more than 6 people on the next Tag Me study group, which is the second Thursday of the month, correct? Correct. Okay. All right. So now we come to our keynote speaker, Professor Gerhard Fuchs. I could say a lot of things about Dr. Fuchs as a surgeon, what he is in terms of a pioneer in his field and the contributions to urology, and probably a lot of you know that already. But I'm here to talk to you about him as a program director. So I've been fortunate because in my entire career, I've only had one person. Really, I had with a brief stint at USC with another guy for a few years as program director, but I've mostly only worked under Dr. Fuchs. And so I've had always a supportive program director who always recognized that the role of the coordinator is invaluable and that the work cannot be done without it. He has always been somebody that has supported my career and done everything for me that he could do to help me get where I'm at. And so I feel blessed because I know that not everybody has that. But what he really does hold the distinction is of having many varied careers in program direction. He's started a program from scratch where there wasn't a residency program before at a hospital that wasn't affiliated with the medical school. And that was very interesting and kind of difficult. He's also taken a program, basically when Dr. Fuchs took over our program at USC, the next week came the letter that we were on probation. And we went straight to probation, not the 5 steps before, like with warning, with concern, boom. And so to turn that around in 12 months, that speaks to the level of experience of Dr. Fuchs. So I think there's a lot of things you can learn from how we got there, like, because I'm sure a lot of people think that we were really messing up, and that wasn't the case. So without further ado, I present Dr. Gerhard Fuchs.
Well, thank you very much, Shannon. And it's a pleasure to be with this very important group. You have probably no idea how important you are for the well-being of residency programs, of your individual programs, of all the folks in the program, most importantly the residents, but overall the academic achievements of your individual programs. So what we're talking about now is probably the worst nightmare one can have as a program coordinator and a program director, which is, going on academic probation. And now let me just tell you, that this is something that, I never expected that I would ever be in a position of having to steer the ship through that, but it can happen. So you see here, that is the letter that came to us, in April of 2018. And of course, this was not the beginning of that travel. That was, after due course and after a site visit. And this is what really, happened and what happened here. So what we want to talk about is, academic probation, what are the problems that got us into it? And basically the same problems that got us into trouble can get any program into trouble. Citations and probation, well, is it the worst case scenario, or can it be an opportunity for renewal and improvement of the program? And, we actually saw it as possibilities. You want, and what we did, if something like this happened, reach deep, analyze, form the necessary strategic alliances to come out of the hole, make the improvements, get out of purgatory, and then prove to the ACGME and to the RRC sustainability and continue on the upward trajectory. So the whole thing started very innocently. In May of 2017, our then program director got the letter from the ACGME, self-study is coming your way, and everybody said, okay, self-study is coming. And Shortly thereafter, the 2017 residency survey came out. And as you can see on the bottom there, you see a downward trajectory over the years prior basically in all categories. And so, we discussed the self-study with our DIO, especially based, on the 2017 ACGME resident and faculty survey. And the DIO said, you guys are in trouble. That self-study will be an issue for you. So it's, you are on a slippery slope trend, and the ACGME doesn't like that at all. The department's position was, we are great. We have great surgical volumes, world-renowned faculty, most complex cases. The residents really can learn, why are they complaining? Innovations in surgical advancements are being made, great research portfolios when they leave the residency. What could go wrong with our program? Well, when you are on the ACGME residency review radar, the wrong approach to the threat is to play that. So that means, immediate action is necessary. And our GME, got upon us immediately. The DIO, Dr. Opa, said, you guys need to get woke, whatever that means. This is for young people, but something waking up. And so immediately our GME folks came upon us, and they did a full site visit, which is like a mock site visit. And let me tell you, they were brutal. And as a result, they confronted us with our red list, with our reality. And when you see that having an electronic medical record is pretty much the only area where you're in the green, you do know, and it sinks in, that you're in big trouble. So we came together as a faculty. We said, this is not who we are. This is not who we want to be. This is not what we stand for. This we will fix. And so we started immediately. And just a little, personal history and, background. Shannon and I, we go back 25 years, working as a team since '95 at UCLA, where she was running my academic practice and was the fellowship coordinator for my fellows. In 2000, we went together over at Cedars to start an academic urology full-time program. And we had the 2 fellows, we had the UCLA medical students, the USC fourth-year residents rotated with us. And so we had a structured education curriculum, and eventually in 2010, we actually started our own residency, freestanding own residency program at Cedars-Sinai. And this was one of the first, the new accreditation system rules. And so we basically were trained from the get-go, understanding and following the basics of the new accreditation system. And part of the reason why the well-known USC residency program was on a downward trend is because everything was being done still, the way it was always done. And, this was no longer good enough for the ACGME. And of course, when the residents started balking and giving negative reviews, this is when the hammer came down. So basically, what the program needed to understand, that at the heart of the new requirements is the philosophy that residency education must occur in a learning and working environment that fosters not only excellence in safety and quality of care, but also an important corollary is the physician, and most importantly, the resident well-being as a crucial part to deliver safest and best possible outcomes to the patients. And so, you know, you all know the ACGME accreditation process as it is now, you know, the importance, you know, of keeping on track, you know, with all the requirements, all the stuff that we and you have to submit to the ACGME, you know, and we learned the hard way, you know, what it means, you know, to be on the wrong side of those requirements and getting into trouble. So, so this is, you know, the little schematic, you know, that I showed our faculty when we started into crawling out of the probation, you know, because they had no idea, not the slightest idea, you know, what it takes to be in good standing with the ACGME. So what we basically did, made sure that everybody understood and bought into the basics of the new accreditation system. We did a biopsy, you know, root cause analysis with the residents, immediately starting taking first steps for improvement when we took over in July of 2017. Had our program evaluation committee early in August with full faculty buy-in. And then, of course, you know, we still have had some big ticket items, and I will come to those as well. So, of course, everybody understands ACGME, RRC, urology rules, you know, and all the legal stuff, the HIPAA stuff, ethics, sexual harassment, and all that stuff, you know. So, so those were, you know, the basics. But, you know, clearly, you know, what we needed to do is we needed to go beyond that. You know, we needed to make sure, you know, that we, you know, would address all the possible problems. And so we had focus meetings, you know, with our residents, and where basically, you know, each resident cohort was assigned tasks involving collecting information, you know, how to make the curriculum better, you know, how to make the service versus education ratio better, how to make the well-being better. And this was then presented at the annual program evaluation committee. And, you know, we, you know, came up with a whole list of things, you know, how to avoid duty hour violations, how to see how we could, in our most busy rotations at the university hospital and the outpatient university hospital, you know, how we can involve nurse practitioners, PAs, fellows to increase, you know, the participation in the non-specific, non-surgical duties, so as to free up the residents for what they consider more meaningful. So certainly, you know, this is not something for a single person. You know, this is clearly where you want to have everybody in it. And, you know, we of course started out, Shannon and I, we started out with the residents, you know, and worked closely with the chiefs to make sure, you know, that we had regular monitoring. Then, you know, faculty members and staff were involved as well. And as I mentioned, the program evaluation committee. So, you know, we had everybody's buy-in, you know, the residents said, okay, let's travel the road to success together. So they were, you know, from the get-go, you know, they were very invested, you know, in getting us out of trouble and getting their experience a better one. So basically, you know, all the categories evaluated, you know, were pretty much in the red: duty hours, faculty participation, supervision, the evaluation process, you know, where they felt it was not duly anonymous, the educational content, you know, basically mostly the problem, not enough protected time to participate in all the offering that we have, resources and, you know, manpower resources, of course, most importantly, you know, because of the work compression and patient safety and teamwork. We actually had was a little bit of on the green side, but then again, the overall residents evaluation of the program mostly in the red as well. So in our program evaluation committee, like we have it every year, we have participation of all the major stakeholders, program director, program chair, program coordinator, then the associate program directors, the rotation directors, peer-selected residents, and peer-selected PAs, so that we get as much buy-in as possible. And again, that red list was at the center of every discussion. I kept a copy of it in my coat, and I'm still have it with me every once in a while. I take a look at it. So we had everybody involved, handout of the raw data for review, weekly meetings we had with the chiefs, and also weekly meetings, program director, coordinator, associate program directors. Monthly, we had a sit down with our DIO and the department chair and myself. And of course, each and every monthly faculty meeting had a significant portion of faculty development to make sure that we continuously stayed on track. So the homework that came, from the PEC meeting and from the deep dive looking in the root cause analysis, was that we had our fellows, we had 6-7 clinical fellows, that they would start taking external calls during the week and also on the weekend to relieve the workload for the on-call residents. PAs, fellows, would have more duties, in the operating room on the board to free up the residents for graduated responsibility in the operating room. We increased our surgical simulation and structured learning programs, and we basically redid the entire didactic and teaching curriculum. So also, what became obvious, when our GME folks looked under the hood, they said, well, your rotation specific goals and objectives, are from 2005. So we had to update those. The rotation supervisor needs to talk with, present the goals and objectives at the beginning of the rotation to the resident. You have to have a mid-rotation evaluation and rotation evaluation. While this was happening on and off, it was not really documented, and what is not documented hasn't happened. Likewise, the semi-annuals, were not documented completely, and we overhauled the mentor program, started a new well-being program, including well-being officers, and Shannon can show a little bit on that later. Like I said, we re-engineered the entire education curriculum, because as you may expect, when the program is not in good standing, the in-service exam results are not the best either. Although nobody failed the board certifications, but that was just a little bit on the good side. And we made sure that we increased the protected time for research, and very importantly for a faculty clinic, for continuation of care education, which was a big problem prior. So basically, then we came to the so-called big ticket items, because we definitely needed more manpower. So the growth of the program was, rapid, and of course, the problem was that the resident complement, could not really satisfy the new accreditation requirements in terms of, having free time, having protected time, and so forth. So options, of course, were, everybody thinks, well, when you have more work, you need more residents, but that obviously didn't work. It was previously turned down. And of course, when you have a bad track record, for sure, the RRC will not look at that at all. So our interim solution was to pool, all learners and PAs, and make sure, that there was an equal distribution of tasks. And of course, most importantly, the final solution for that, was to hire a sufficient number of mid-levels. We discussed this with the hospital at that time, with the university, and since we were not on probation at that time yet, there was reluctance, in helping out. So we still, had to use internal sources to make things happen. We increased resources for the financial needs for resident educational activities, such as academic travel, learning materials, licenses. Shannon got them a well-appointed call room. They take at home call, but when they have to come in the middle of the night, at times it doesn't make sense to go home again, and they were sleeping in their cars or in an empty hospital patient bed. So clearly that was not conducive to being in a good well-being position. Well-being activities, our mama bears, again, this is something that Shannon started. Very, very helpful. And of course, we got some help for Shannon. We got here an assistant, and we got a coordinator for the 4 different fellowships, SAU, a female pelvic floor, endourology, reconstructive, so that she would not have to bear all that by herself anymore. So next step was in November, we got the letter for site visit for cars. They said there were multiple areas of significant non-compliance on the resident survey, which we had noted ourselves, with a definite downward trend in many areas. January 1st, 2018 is the default date in the system. The Department of Field Activities will contact you. That was on November 2nd. And it was a full accreditation site visit, based on the bad survey, but mostly, on the downward trend, but also a discrepancy between how the residency saw the programs and the faculty survey. Faculty said everything is great. And so that was, the trigger, for that full site visit. Now, 7 days later, we got another letter that they would be coming in December and not in January. And they advised us that if this would not work for us, we could postpone to January. But our DIO said, when the ACURE comes to you for cars, they wanted to be prepared and not to stall. So, doing tricky things, like making a pick into a piggy bank, or using other ways, of keeping them off you for a while doesn't work. So you have to be ready. And so our GME folks, immediately, came to us again to look under the hood, and they were actually pretty happy at the time. And then we came to our site visit, and for the site visit, you have to make sure that everything is in pristine order. The residence files, the logs, the evaluations, the yearly submission to the ADS, all the threats from the survey need to be addressed in the ADS. And this is where we work very closely with the DIO, who looked at basically every sentence, to make sure that our submission in September was perfect. You have to have all your ducks in a row. You need to make sure that everybody understands, what the ACGME wants, and they want you to be precise in your answers. They want you to be honest. When there's still gaps, they want to hear it. And this is what we told them. We were, we told them, okay, everything that we can fix, we feel, and this is what the chair said, what Shannon said, what I said, everything that we feel that we can fix internally, we have done. we still, have manpower issues, which is, of course, leads, when the residents cannot do it, others have to do it. So there's work compression with the mid-levels and with the faculty, but, this session actually went very well. But, as I said in the beginning, the damage was already done. And so basically based on the survey, this is what, then made them decide that we would go on probation. We had an institution-wide record of 11 citations. But at the same time, the site visitor recognized the improvements that we have made. So in the site visit protocol, you wrote that Shannon and I immediately, took all the steps, that we did, and so when the final word came, in April of 2018, we felt that we were on a good track, but still, it is a shock, and you have to explain it, to everybody, especially the residents, and you also, it may impact future recruitments, and so the initial shock was, what do we do now? But since we were in our mind already on a good trajectory, we said, well, let's keep calm and carry on. I mentioned the internal repair of the red list, which was going very well, but the external repair, meaning the resources that we would need to bridge the manpower gap, that had not happened before. And of course, being on probation was perfect for the chair to negotiate with the hospital and university now the necessary mid-level manpower resources, because we made it clear that without that, the chances for getting out of probation would be very low. So we continued with our meetings and task force groups, and as I mentioned, the well-being department, so to speak, or developing a group, the mama bears, were doing their work. And we also started, had department culture workshops to improve our department culture, because, when things are bad and when everybody is overextended in terms of work, obviously, people are not too happy. And so the next milestone was just, a couple of weeks after we got on probation, was the 2018 survey of the residents, and the DIOs, send us, an email, results of the survey out 15 minutes ago, very, very, and more very encouraging. So that, told us that we're on the right track. And you see here, 2017, 2018, basically in each and every one of the categories, significant improvement. But again, this is just a moment in time, and what the ACURE looks at when you are in the hole, they want to see sustainability. They want to see continued improvement. But again, for the morale, that was something very good. And as you can see here, residents' overall evaluation of the program, 2017, this is the yellow thing is the national mean. This is where we were in 2018, significant improvement and encouragement to continue on the track. So I mentioned the internal, the external repair. The next step was a so-called tribal leadership intervention to look at improving the overall culture of our department. And for this, we actually got the help of Dave Logan, who wrote the book Tribal Leadership. He's a guy who, with his company, is a big coach for Fortune 500 companies and so forth. And we actually had used him. He's a professor at the USC Business School, and started his own company, Culture Sync. And we had used him at Cedars-Sinai, where we had experience, with a small urology group, because when Shannon and I came over, it was a full-time faculty of 1, and there were 50 community urologists, who, were very resistant to having a full-time faculty start and steal their patients, and it took a while to explain to them that we had a totally different way of, practice. We had a surgical practice and not general urology practice. And so, eventually we had Dave Logan come with this group, and it was one of his many success stories, the intervention where he brought everybody together, and out of the urologists, a group of 50, we got a coalition of the willing. It started with 5 and then 10 and then 15. So eventually, we were allowed to increase the full-time faculty, and the resistance of the community folks was overcome, and we actually worked closely together. We made ourselves available to them and so forth. And eventually, as I mentioned, we started the residency program. So this guy now came to us, and basically, we said, well, we need to have an intervention. We need to make sure that our success with the rapid clinical enterprise growth, at the main hospital, 10 satellites, which has increased to workload, and leads to the problem of the administrative infrastructure being totally overextended, with a negative effect on the departmental culture, well-being, negative effect on the program mission. We are on probation, help us. And so tribal culture, basically means that any tribe, any group of people, is looked at, by which level they are. There are 5 levels. Level 1 is life sucks. This is the folks, who are in prison, and have to stand against the wall all the time, because otherwise they can get stabbed. Level 2 is my life sucks, which means I'm in a position, where I try to do my best, but the circumstances are terrible. Level 3 is I am great, you are not. This is where most professionals supposedly are. Level 4 is when we as a group are great. And level 5 is when it transcends everything, the life is great. So basically, we had 2 sessions with Dave Logan and his group, to basically, bring these separate silos together. There's a senior administrative leadership, who we basically had no relationship with, they did not even listen to the chair. Then there's the urology managerial leadership, who just look at numbers. And then this producing type, this is where we all are, where the residents are, the faculty, the fellows, the clinic staff, the administrative staff in our offices, and we, in order to grow the program back together, bring it back together, bring it out of probation, we had to find a way of interacting, making people interact with each other and work together on the same goals. So we had 2 half-day sessions with him where we had everybody together, identify the barriers, promoted understanding of the individual group issues, and develop the plan towards going to the next step. And so they started the process for the entire tribe. People self-reflected, looked where they were. Most I identified as level 2, my life sucks, and level 3, I am great, you are not. And some people we truly had epiphany and said, okay, we understand, in order to get out of this, we have to be great, we have to work together. So focusing on common goals, promoting our vision, live our vision, and go to level 4. So after this, we had our hashtag, make the residency great together. And well, the next step was after the next site visit in April of 2019, we got, again, from our DIO, he always hears these things first. Great news, congratulations. It is almost unheard of to go from probation to continued accreditation, which is the highest possible level, within 1 year. Yeah, so, and this is how our residents took it, so they are here on the top deck of the parking lot, and they're jumping up and down. A year before, if we would have let them up on that parking deck, probably they would have jumped off. So you see, big difference in a year. And sustained results. So that was the 2019, and here are the respective, March 2018, and going up to the next year. So bottom line, getting on probation can happen. Nobody really saw it coming. Shannon and I, we had a feeling when we came over from Cedars that, intervention might be necessary, but, nobody really saw it coming. But as you can see, in 2020, we're holding steady at the level, proving to the ACGME sustainability of effort and improvement, and very importantly, proving to ourselves and all the stakeholders that making the residency great together is way more than a hashtag. It's really now in our DNA. So education, and this is what I always say, is the cornerstone of academic life. Education, is the center of everything. Patient care, research, community service. Without education, of our residence fellows, of ourselves, we are not bringing out the best in what we can and what we can contribute to community. It's a commitment from the heart. It's not something that's on your job description. It's always a commitment from the heart. It's part of lifelong learning for everybody, but it's an investment that pays the greatest dividends, personally, for the program, our legacy. Nothing better for a program director or program coordinator, when you get half a dozen or more phone calls a week, messages, from previous residence fellows, showing you a big tumor that they took out, or having a question, or sending a baby picture. When you get this, you have done it right. So what does it take? It takes the whole village. It takes faculty, staff, PAs, nurses, administration, the local GME folks, and at the end of the day, you have to do what it takes. You have to make sure that the residents, feel the respect, are challenged intellectually, but also, give them increased graduated responsibility, make sure that the mentorship program and the well-being program works well, so that you lead them to the road to mature independence of urological practice, and that they are doing good wherever they go, whether they go in private practice and improve the quality of care in their local area, whether they go in academics and become stars and superstars, it doesn't matter. You want to make sure that they get and live their best potential. So what got us and can get any program in trouble, like I said, is something that can start slowly and all of a sudden it's there. Certainly, you want to avoid it. And again, this is where the program coordinator, a program coordinators are the backbone of any program. Without a good program coordinator and a good support team for the program coordinator, things like this can happen. And when it happens, use it as an opportunity for renewal and improvement. Reach deep, analyze, form strategic alliances, push the administration to allow for the necessary improvements to happen, prove sustainability, and then go onward and upward. And this is a picture, of our inaugural Department of Wellness officers. Sadly, they have passed away recently, but we remember, and the residents remember them very fondly. And Shannon, of course, is the mother of the whole program, and we are eternally thankful for what she does for our program. And speaking from a program director perspective, to the group of program coordinators, even if you don't hear it on a daily basis, the program directors and the department chairs, are very appreciative of the work that you're doing on a daily basis. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Fuchs. That was great. And these wellness officers have passed away, but they have since been replaced with a new one. He's just sleeping over here, so I can't show him. But Dr. Fuchs will stay on at the end to answer any questions, if anybody has any questions about probation. And let's see. Okay, now I need to share my screen. Where is it? Here it is. Okay, hold on. I think this is the one I need to share. Okay. All right. And then let me just move this out of the way. Okay. Dirty's Little Secrets. This is to tag on to Dr. Fuchs' presentation, looking at some of that data that he was looking at, those downward trends and how to spot red flags before they become citations. Oh. Okay. Just want to put a plug in here that behind every good resident is a great coordinator, and we all know that. But it's because the coordinator is the one that could sort of drill down this little problem that we started to see after we got off probation. So, of course, there was a post-probation honeymoon where we had unprecedented resident happiness, scores on the ACURe survey and the GME surveys, all green. Resident well-being skyrocketed, and that's what I expected because we really did a lot. We worked hard to make it better for them. And the residents will tell you that going on probation was the best thing that ever happened to the program. And then all of a sudden, survey trends, small deviations, not like what Dr. Fuchs was showing you before, nothing below the national averages, but still, it was a little bit frustrating even for me because I'm thinking before they were getting like, a crust of bread and a sip of water. And now, what do they have to not put green for, So expectations versus reality is what it was, because now the residents are empowered by the experience of probation. Now they know and hold us accountable for their well-being. They know that if they complain, something will get done about it. Now the tail wags the dog. So now, just because you got off probation, just because your wellness is good, doesn't mean it's over. So recognize those small deviations as red flags. Despite the open door policy, which was a huge initiative, where our residents know they can come to me, they can come to Dr. Fuchs, they can come to our chairman, and they can complain about anything they need to. They still were using the anonymity of the ACGME survey to make some complaints, which was a surprise to me. Why would they do that when they know how many times I've said, please don't use the survey to make complaints. Bring them to us. Give me a chance. Give us an opportunity to take care of it. But yet, still they would hide under the anonymity, or just, it'd only be a couple or maybe just one. But the fact that there were any, again, it's the start of a red flag. So the coordinator is the one that has a relationship with the residents. We have insight into what's bothering them. we hear them in their complaints about faculty, about equity, all sorts of complaints. We're the ones that hear them. We're the ones that know whether or not there's a trend in the type of complaint that's being given. So we have these evaluation tools, and I'm like, well, we use my evaluations. Why aren't they telling us on these tools if there's such a problem? Why do we find this out on a survey when we have all these tools? Well, first of all, the tools that we did have, they're lacking narrative feedback. So residents weren't writing narrative feedback on my evaluations report. It's a Likert scale, and they would just bup, 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 bup. I always assumed they're just in a big fat hurry. They don't want to take the time to answer the questions. But what it turns out is that they're very suspicious of the true anonymity of the residency tracking software. Even though I would tell them that their evaluations don't go directly to the faculty, they go to the GME office. They get aggregated and sent as a report. They just didn't believe it. They feel like process of elimination. You can figure out who might have said something, so they weren't willing to take that chance. They're afraid to be candid. They're afraid of repercussions. And they just don't trust it. They just figure like it comes at the end of a rotation, how many people were on the rotation, especially for a small program. I'm starting to see what the problem was. They're telling me what's wrong, but they don't want to be that resident. So, I had written, let's see, it's not so easy to complain about attending behavior. They don't have a problem complaining about duty hours, about rotations, call schedule, but it's not as easy. It's ingrained in resident culture. I don't want to be that resident that's the complainer. I don't want to be viewed as weak, So yeah, where's this little button here? So yes, I did a deep dive. I went and had these discussions with the residents, really, truly, because when they come to me and complain to me about things, they always say, I don't want you to say anything, but this and this and this happened. And my DIO is very, very clear that the trust the resident has in the coordinator is paramount. So you cannot say, even though I know I have a good relationship with my PD and I could tell him anything and he would just keep it mum, when they say, I'm just telling you this, but I don't want you to say anything, I wouldn't do anything. Even though I knew I could do something and probably fix it quick, I felt that them trusting that I would not rat them out or whatever, and I would try to do other things instead to convince them to tell directly the program director. Because once I go back to Dr. Fuchs or Dr. Gill and say, oh, the residents are upset because faculty member so-and-so is being rude, that's not something actionable. It's hearsay. It's nothing that they can really do anything about. So I spent a lot of time discussing unpleasant faculty interactions. This is all it was. It had nothing to do with any of the hard work we had put in. It had to do with unpleasant faculty interactions that were very unpleasant and that were something that I don't think the chair or the PD ever thought would even be a problem because it's not the way they behave. They're afraid that they would be discovered as the person being the complainer. So they knew the ACGME survey, they wouldn't get discovered, but through our normal systems, they were concerned. And then there was the belief that the complaints wouldn't be addressed because, the attending's too important. No one's going to do anything about Dr. So-and-so. He's important. He's a big name. He's somebody. The attending won't like me. He won't let me do cases. He'll make it hard for me. He'll hold it against me somehow. He'll ruin my career. So dramatic. But yeah, this is it. Yes. So when your kid has been telling you the same story for 167 hours. So a lot of these complaints that I was hearing were about the same few people. We all have them in our programs. And it would go over years and years, and even people who had graduated before. So I started getting frustrated because this is what the problem is, and how am I going to get this into any place where we can do something about it? Resident transparency was limited by fear of the unknown, the mistrust of the evaluation system, belief that nothing is truly anonymous. This got me thinking. So I got on SurveyMonkey, and only because it's the only survey app I knew about. So I bought it myself so that I had exclusive access to it. and I let the residents know that they were going to be getting a survey, and it was coming from me and my personal, and I'm the only one that has access, and it would be anonymous. And I engineered it. I basically reverse engineered it. So I went through the common program requirements and I looked at not the rules, but the intent of all the well-being rules. Okay. I wanted to come up with a small questionnaire that wasn't going to take them a long time to answer, with targeted questions that would tease out the actual problems, which had to do with the way that they were being treated. So I set it up so that they had to give narrative responses. They would have a question and then they would have to give an explanation, or they wouldn't be able to move on to the next question. And then I selected the faculty wisely so that survey fatigue didn't dilute their responses. We have 30 some odd faculty. We made the decision that we would give this exact same survey to the residents about every faculty member. We are not trying to target anybody. We're not trying to be unfair or discriminatory. We want to find out the same about everybody. But I know for a fact 30 survey monkeys, about 30 faculty members, eventually you're going to get people that just aren't putting as much time into it. So I selected the ones that I most commonly received the same complaints about, and I had those go out first so that they could really let me know how they felt. So there are 8 questions that we came up with. Overall, how satisfied was your experience with Dr. So-and-so? How knowledgeable did you feel Dr. So-and-so is or was as a teacher in the OR and clinic? That question I will probably retool. They misunderstood it. I'm trying to find out, how good are they as a teacher? Not everybody can teach just because they're good at doing something. I want to know, was this person good as a teacher? How respectful do you feel you were treated by Dr. X during your rotation or interactions? Do you feel Dr. X encourages a spirit of scholarly inquiry? Did time spent with this doctor encourage your interest in their subspecialty? Is equity in the operating room maintained despite the presence of fellows and students and other competing learners? And do you feel that this doctor creates a safe environment for learning? And then the last question was, in your own words, was there anything that this attending could have done differently to improve your interactions or experiences or rotation? So because this comes out just at a random time during the year, it's not affiliated with a current rotation. These people are answering questions about their experiences with this attending over, if they're a chief, it could have been over the last 5 years. If they're an intern, it could be over the last 2 months. So there was no way of knowing who is saying what, when, or where. So here are some of the results. And this one, how satisfied were you with your experiences? So what I like about SurveyMonkey, it does this, and it could also do bar graphs. And when you look at this really just quickly, it doesn't seem that bad. I mean, all these people were very satisfied, and then all these people up here were extremely satisfied. And that's more than, but really a third of these people are not satisfied 100%. That's the red flag. It doesn't look so bad because it's only 2 people here, but that's almost half of the residents. And so that is a red flag. Now it's when you see the comments that come with this, where they got to narrate why they answered it, was where you're really going to get the information. So knowledge as a teacher. Here again, I think some of this was diluted a little bit because when you see the comments that they made, they don't line up with this. I think some of these people mistook that for just how knowledgeable are they in general on their subject, not as a teacher. Were they treated respectfully? I mean, look at this all over the place, but pretty big chunks in here. And when you look at the whole thing, most of it is not extremely respectful, okay? Encourages a spirit of scholarly activity, creates a safe learning environment. Look, when you got a beach ball with lots of different colors on it like this does not look good. So this was pretty early after our honeymoon period was over, like literally within the next 12 months, all of a sudden I'm getting this kind of data, not what I was expecting. Okay, so now we come to, I wish I could see all of your faces. Maybe I could change this to the person who I think is going to be most animated when I show you these comments. Okay. Okay. This is the actual comments that were said. My chairman, if I can just, this is his face while he's reading this. He was in shock because they get worse. This person's no comment. This person felt that she should not need to prove that she's a bigger size of balls than when they're alone with the residents. They will get salty. They will tell you what they feel. As mentioned previously, she's a great surgeon, can be a great teacher. She needs to quit blurring the line between friend and teacher. She should treat all residents fairly. She should stop gossiping about other residents and faculty in front of us. That really has to stop. It makes me uncomfortable. Okay, that was said over and over again, and that was why the chairman was in shock. Attitude improvement. More positive feedback. Please, this one made me sad. Please do not hesitate to say positive things or encouragement to residents. I'm sure it will mean a lot if residents get positive feedback from Dr. X, such as, good job, I like it, keep up the good work. Like they felt like they had to actually give examples of what a positive feedback was. They love her, but more or less feel intimidated. It would be great to get rid of this intimidating feeling by giving more positive feedback. This one thought she could be a little less unnecessarily hypercritical. Okay, now here is the comment that the ACGME will have a big fat cow over. Dr. Gill, I thought he was going to pass out when he read this. Dr. X promotes a culture of fear in the OR that makes every resident that she works with terrified of making a single mistake around her. Similar to some of the outside rotation faculty, she seems to truly enjoy making certain residents she picks out squirm. It is the opposite of a safe environment. I cannot underestimate how belittling some of the comments she has made are. I've heard them said both directly to me and to many other residents in front of me. Beyond this, every question that is asked is met with an eye roll and a you should already know that look. This is never balanced with any positive feedback if you are one that she chooses to pick on. She would loudly make comments about your incompetency in front of the entire OR, making everyone in the room's opinion of you decrease. This is not how people learn medicine, surgery, or any topic really. A professor should create an environment of learning, and most often I unfortunately seen Dr. X do the exact opposite. And I won't keep going on. They're all like this, okay? Don't feel comfortable around her. Public humiliation, walking on eggshells, picks on certain residents. There are so many comments that there was no way the chairman could deny it, that there was a problem. And this is another one here. Let's see. Talking openly and loudly in front of other residents. You know, there was one in there that she says, unnecessarily mean. These are all different residents, all 15 of them. She's a great surgeon. Like some of them can handle it better than others. Some of them are able to, look past that. Disrespect, brash, arrogant, times nice and ready to explain so she can be good if she wants. So that's also like very inconsistent. Okay, this was the one that really got me was, if there was a choice, I'd just operate with Dr. X and Dr. X. Both are tough teachers, but they are fair. Dr. X in particular is a generous teacher, and both are patient and actually teach. Neither makes me feel like a complete idiot if I'm incorrect. Dr. X is not in the same league at all, as she seems to enjoy being mean for the sake of being mean with no teaching value, just cruel. We are all just trying to get through residency and avoid her as much as possible. In all honesty, we spend a lot more time strategizing how to avoid Dr. X's wrath than we do trying to please Dr. Gill or Dr. Fuchs. We even knew to avoid her as medical students. That's how legendary her reputation for being mean is. Now, unfortunately, this person saying that doesn't realize that totally narrows it down to a resident who probably was a medical student at USC, and trust me, when we gave this feedback, she was trying to figure out who said what. Okay. So, oh my God, now what, right? We had 2 faculty with like this kind of, one is a brand new faculty, just graduated from fellowship. So I told Dr. Fuchs, we are not letting this get to the way the other one is, because the other one is a seasoned faculty that had been there a long time. So what do we do now? I had to develop a faculty remediation program. And we do have the Vanderbilt program, that cup of coffee thing that some of the programs are using, where when you have unprofessional behavior, you know, it's a colleague, maybe a senior colleague will take that person out and over a cup of coffee talk about, I heard you're being crabby, that kind of thing. But this went way beyond that. Like, this was way beyond a cup of coffee discussion. So I went to our Center for Work and Family Life. I know all y'all have one of these places. Every program has something like this. And I spoke with them over there, and it turns out they actually had a counseling and a coaching program, but they basically tailored it for us. So with referral from the chairman, the persons referred had to have actually like therapy, not just coaching on how to be a better teacher, but like psychological therapy. They had to have therapy and counseling. Their teaching privileges were restricted until the remediation was completed, and then we surveyed. There was a massive change. I knew that it was going to be a massive change because I've been hearing all along from the residents that didn't know that this was going on. Like I just heard last week, one of the chief residents called me up and said, Dr. X, I don't know what's going on. Like, you know, they were actually kind of irritated. They were like, I was in the case with her and the intern, and the intern totally messed this, that, or the other thing up. And Dr. X was like, that's okay. Just, you know, start all over. Just, you know, regroup, redirect. That's all right. You'll get it. She's like, what happened? If I would have done that my intern year, she would have eviscerated me. And I said, well, you sound like you're unhappy that the intern was treated better. And she's like, well, no, I'm happy for her. I'm just trying to figure out what's going on. So I know that when the resurveying happens, it's going to be different. But like Dr. Fuchs said in his talk, sustainability is the key. My GME office really likes this thing that I did. They're trying to encourage other people to do it. And wellness is really the only thing you need to ask about. Because if they're feeling okay in that area, they're probably feeling okay in all the other areas. And the main takeaway for me is just that even though you're doing all these things to help them, they will still go back to that ACGME survey or to complain if they're not being respected by faculty. You know, there has to be a shift. Back in the day, it was a privilege to be in the operating room. Now it is a privilege to teach residents. Being in the operating room, that's just part of the curriculum. And faculty need to have this shift in the way that they think about teaching the residents from away from that old school thing and be this have this ingrained feeling of I can't complain or I'll be looked down as weak or this or that. So faculty needs to catch up with where the residents are because the residents are already there. And we do this every year. It doesn't take much. They pay for it now, you know, for me to do this. The chairman looks at it. It's used to determine whether you're going to get a professorial increase. More than the My Evaluations surveys, this is used to determine whether or not you're being successful as a teacher of residence. It's super easy. Happy to help anybody figure out how to do it. And it's made a big difference in us keeping on top of some of these issues with the residents. So with that, I will open it up to any questions anybody has. What time are we at? 6. Yay. Oh, I didn't go over time. Awesome. Okay. So, and in the future, after we've got meetings with the steering committee, we'll probably try to do some more short little program coordinator development things, teaching us stuff, drawing on all of the brain power of the people that are on the Zoom right now, and giving you like little training sessions and things like that I, you know, bite size so you don't have to spend 4 hours at a time. And I'm very happy to take any suggestions that anyone might have of anything they want to know about. But do we have any questions? Let's look in the chat box. Praise in public, punitive in private. Yep. Does anybody have any questions for Dr. Fuchs?
I do, Shannon. It's Verna. My question is, did you have problems? Because I know this, this has to come from the top down to make these changes. Did you have any problems getting people getting the buy-in at all levels? Because, ultimately there's one person that might cause an issue. And if you did have problems, how did you go about getting everybody on board with your ideas and making them understand how important it was that everybody buys in?
Are you talking about all the changes that we had to make to get off probation?
Yes.
Well, I'll let Dr. Fuchs tag off this, but the one thing I will say is one of the only ways that your chairman can get fired from his job is if you go on probation. So it tends to be taken a little more seriously by at least one guy when you get to that.
So it's basically you got buy-in at an institutional level. And because I know with some, and the reason I ask this question is I do get institutional buy-in, but there are coordinators out there that don't have the institutional backing that you and I have. And so I'm asking, how do you get buy-in if you don't have that clout per se to get everybody at all levels bought into what you need to do? And so that's my question to him. How would you go about getting that buy-in if you don't get it from the top down or you don't get the institution pushing it?
Professor?
Yeah. Well, this is where probation is an opportunity. Backtracking a little bit, when we came over from Cedars-Sinai in 2014, there was another program director, but I was hired as director of education. And, since I knew the program, the USC program pretty well because of the 4th year's residents rotating through our program at Cedars, and we had 6 fellows, coming from USC. When I started, I said, look, in my assessment, coming from a new accreditation system background, we have to work on getting the program up to speed with the new requirements. And as such, every Friday morning before grand rounds, we sat in my office, the program director, program coordinator, the associate program directors, myself, and we basically did an evaluation of each and every aspect of the program and made improvements. But unfortunately, after about 12 months, I was asked not to do this anymore, despite the fact that I was politically as, compliant and easygoing as possible. Certain people didn't like that. And so we stopped it. And, this is when, we had the bad survey afterwards. We started immediately making things better, but in the beginning, we did not have the buy-in. We had the understanding of the chair right away, but we did not get a buy-in in terms of getting additional financial resources, the necessary manpower, commitments, to lighten the load. So this is why we, in the beginning, we just had the so-called internal solution, where we basically were leaning on each and everybody in the program to do more, so that the residents would have to do less. Now, when the probation letter came, so the chair, took the probation letter and went to the CEO, and with the support, from the DIO, the university immediately understood, that they had to step up to the plate and do something. So this is where, getting into probation eventually, was the final thing that helped us, but on the prevention side, I think it's important, to, when you see the red flags, like what Shannon mentioned, to bring it to the attention of the DIO as soon as possible, because the DIO, works closely with the dean, and the dean is the boss of the chair. And eventually, this is what gives the traction necessary to make changes before everything goes downhill.
Yeah, I agree with that. My prior to Dr. Fuchs, when I had the other person, I was told that the DIO didn't want to ever speak to me about anything. And I know every program does it different, and so okay. Well, I find out after he left and this happened, the DIO said, "Hey, if you see something, say something. Like, if you would have told me this was going on, I could have jumped in here faster." And so it's true. Like you're talking about how do you get the buy-in, especially if you have a program that is set up with a lot of not full-time faculty people and like a community urologists from all over the place that are sort of like
right
cobbled together. Kind of, I'm looking over here like I'm talking to Dr. Fuchs, like Samir's program, like that new program where you have maybe one guy who gets it and he's in it to win it, but the rest of them are just kind of put together, sort of volunteering and not really, they don't care if they follow a rule, they don't care if they, and they're oftentimes part of the problem, right? That person, whichever one of you has that program, I don't know who you are. You can identify yourself to me in private. You're going to have to probably go on probation to fix your problems. This is when, the problems that we had at USC, Dr. Fuchs will tell you, prior to him taking over, I was prepared to leave. I didn't come and work this long and come to USC, which should be the pinnacle of my career, to have this. I wasn't going to do it. So, oh my gosh, I just forgot what I was saying in the middle of a sentence. What was I talking about?
We're all getting too old for this job.
You complained that I couldn't protect you.
I never said that. What? Okay, I'm sorry. Yep, this happens. Does anybody remember what I was talking about?
You were about to quit, and this
You didn't come all this way.
I've got getting a lot of text messages of people laughing at me. Hey, I'm just being real. Why was I about to quit? I was ready to quit because it was just so hard for me to get anybody to listen to what was going on. And so when Dr. Fuchs took over, I told him right away, this program is going on probation. And he was trying to see what he could do, but I eventually went in there one day and I said, this program needs to go on probation, because if it doesn't go on probation, none of this stuff will ever get fixed. And a lot of it had to do with the residents feeling comfortable to answer accurately on the survey. So yeah, we created a monster. Because a lot of them were lying on that thing, not because they were being coached, but because they were afraid of what would happen if we went on probation. They thought they would lose their residencies. They didn't know what would happen. The chiefs just want to just graduate, right? They just want to keep their heads down and graduate. They don't care. The younger ones are worried, like, well, what will happen? Will I not have a job? So they would always answer inconsistently. So you must see how unhappy they were to have been really telling the ACGME. You saw that trajectory, but 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, nothing happened. Like those were 2 years before we even got there. So we didn't even know this was going on. We came in 2014 and these are 2012, 2013, right? So we didn't even know that this was happening. But so here they are, they're telling people and nothing gets done about it. So they just, I think a lot of it would have been maybe even some of the graduating residents, like, screw you, I'm going to do this way now. This is my parting shot. And so, but that was the best thing that happened. If your program is like that, don't be afraid of going on probation. In one of the series coming up, I will talk about the low-hanging fruit and how to make sure that there are no coordinator citations. So when y'all go on probation, as long as there's no coordinator citations, you can just, okay. Because if there's one coordinator citation, if you're from a program like that, believe me, that's what they're going to be talking about. So I can help you stay away from those things. Does anybody else have any, let's see what else we got in here. Any more questions? Okay. Okay, here's a very good question. Is that you? No, Kristen. All right, Kristen. Hey. Here's what happens. So there's the rules, and then there's what really happens if you go on probation. So yes, the rules say that I think it's you only are required to have a part-time coordinator, right? 50% time or something like that, or 0.25 cent. I forget what it says in there, but basically way less than what it takes to get the job done, right? So in my situation, it was really easy. The DIO came over, and when he found out what I was doing, all the things I was doing, he told the chairman, this person needs to be dedicated to the residency 100%, and that's it. And you need to hire somebody to do all these fellowships and a secretary to support her and the program director now. That's how it happened. I didn't ask for help. I knew I wasn't going to ask for help. I knew I wasn't going to get help. I knew that. And as you all know, who've been doing this a long time, you know, you can do a lot. Like, I still do a lot. But what these people do are a lot of the minutia and the busy work. It just opens it up so that I can, do more to help Dr. Fuchs. Do more actual digging instead of him having to do it all. I can do it, you know? And so it makes more sense. Like, why would you have us doing verifications of training and things that anybody can cut and paste together that don't require experience? But coming up with curriculum changes, coming up with ways to improve so that every year we can tell the ACGME that we are continually improving our curriculum, improving the training of the residents. You know, how can we do that while we're so busy doing all this other stuff? So that was exactly what happened. And I think that, you still 6 programs. Yeah. Oh yeah. Nobody can leave because Jenny wants to take a picture of everybody. Not sure. Okay, so we have a FPMRS program, which is ACGME accredited. We have an MIS fellowship, or the robotic, that's a not accredited. We have an Endourology Society and an SUO Society fellowship, but the only ACGME accredited fellowship is FPMRS. But that doesn't matter because we still have to kind of go through all of the same things just in order to get even a non-accredited program to be allowed at USC. And so, you know, even though those programs, I think I might be reading into the question a little bit. If anybody needs me to explain to their program director that just because the fellowship is not ACGME accredited doesn't mean it's less work, just let me know, okay? Because there's a lot more crap that goes into it than just that. Yes, there are some things that might be a tad bit easier, but you know, then you add how many of them they have. So I think we have like 10 fellows or something. It's a lot, okay? It takes away from what you need to be doing, and the DIO was the one that did that for me. So going on probation is what got me an assistant and a fellowship coordinator. If we didn't go on probation, I would be doing it all myself. So don't be afraid of probation. Okay, Jenny, where are you? Okay, get back on there. You want to orchestrate a group photog, right? So in order to do this group photo, I guess as many people as are still on
camera,
please turn your cameras on. Elise,
please, everybody, look at this.
Laura.
Not many people have their camera.
It's
There we
on,
go.
And then smile at it so that you don't look like you're not happy.
There we go. Come on.
And she has to go through 3 screens. See how I can talk and smile at the same time?
Yeah. Oh, yay. Look at that. I'm so happy. Oh, wait, we're down to 49? Just because you don't want to turn on your camera. I'm so sorry. We had 65. What happened there? Okay,
that was a great turnout.
Yes.
Great turnout. I think we've recorded this. I know that the speakers will be happy to provide the slides. We'll make sure that you all have access to that. Thank you guys so much. This was a great meeting. I thought we did a really good job with our topics.
Indeed. Here we go.
So, and we want this to be a living, breathing society. So please feel free.
Lily, where are you?
Jenny, why don't you just do a screenshot?
Well, I could, but then I couldn't make a collage.
Well, you can crop it on the computer.
Yeah, but Jenny, otherwise your picture is going to look like this.
All right, I'm doing a screenshot.
You might get better quality. That's all. Like,
just so you know, I have no idea how to do a screenshot.
Hang on.
Really, I live by the screenshot, girl.
Hang on.
Hey, Elise.
Hang on. I'm going to paste it. Hang on.
Yeah.
I got one, so hang on. All right, there's
Pay attention
one.
to the road.
Okay, now hang on. Got to do another one. I'm gonna paste it now.
Elise, pay attention to the road.
Luckily, I'm at a long
We
ass
can
light.
take our own screenshot and just send them all to you for your collage, you know?
Combine all the screenshot.
That's great. That's a fantastic idea. Thank you, Verna. Everybody just do your own little picture, your own little screenshot, and send it with your phone or email it to me. And I'm going to do a collage. So I really appreciate this. Thank you. So
Thank you guys. If I have nothing more to say,
thank you for spending your Saturday with us.
thank you too. Love it. It was great. Thank you, Dr. Fuchs.
Take care.
Excellent. Thank you. It's nice
Bye,
pretty
Bye,
faces.
Shannon.
Thank
you.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you, everyone.
Good seeing you.
Have a good rest of your
Bye,
week.
Jenny. Thank you.
Welcome.
Well, knowing you, Matt.
Stephanie, love you. Thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you, guys. Loved the presentations.
Thank you, everybody. It was a great conference.
I think this may be our best one yet.
Yes, indeed.
Stop the recording.
Everyone, be safe.
Hey, Shannon.
Have a great Saturday.
Thank you, Shannon.
Thank you guys.
Bye.
Don't forget to stop recording, Steph.
Stop
Hey, Shannon, I just got an email from my PD saying that there's an issue with my faculty survey that I just sent out yesterday. So now I have to go work on that one.
Oh, fun. Yes, yes.
Good
Well,
night, ladies.
our problems with the faculty survey just said everything was fine. You know, I mean, sometimes they don't put enough time into it, but I think it was because the faculty didn't realize how important it was to answer the questions, you know? So it's just like, yeah, good. I mean, they really survey us to death. It's crazy.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, well, y'all have a nice
I'm
weekend.
going to change it to my ACURe shirt because now the dryer is done and it's finally
I
clean.
need one of those.
I had it on for